Good evening, everyone. I'm Ashok Kumar Mohan. I'm from Amurtha, Coimbatore campus. We have a research center here, TIFAC core in cybersecurity. And basically, I'm a bachelor's in IT, MTech in cybersecurity. I'm just currently pursuing my PhD in digital forensics, specifically related to this cybercrime investigation sort of stuff. So that's my core area of interest, and which I work on for at least for the past 5-6 years, specifically in this cyber forensic investigation. So today's session, most of you are school students, right? So this session will be something on the surface level. We are not going to see so in depth, right? If at all you are going to take a BTech in cybersecurity course, right? We have a specific crafted course. Maybe the whole of your course, you find like 10% of the courses, labs, and things that will have some sort of this cybercrime investigation stuff. But what I thought of conveying today within this 1 hour is like specifically just giving you some insights on what's happening. Everyone knows, right? Bank frauds are happening, ATM frauds are happening, someone sends you a message, someone calls your father and asks for an OTP, right? So everything is happening. Even after this lockdown, cybercrime have drastically increased. So I don't want to put up on the statistics. If you can just go on Google for cybersecurity related jobs in India, right? They say like 2 million jobs are open globally, right? So and then that's a greater demand between the job and the people or graduates those who are coming out. So these are also generic. But what I want to touch here is, as you can see here on my screen, cybercrime in India, generic scenario, the so-called hacking, because whenever we talk about cybercrime investigation, even in movies, when you see, everyone will talk about hacking, right? So hacking in movies is entirely different from hacking in real world. Movies, what you see is like someone will just sit on a single room idle. They'll start typing without taking their hands for like 5 minutes or something. So finally, a big pop-up will come. You have been hacked, or you have hacked the system. But in real world, everything is going to happen anonymous. Everything is happening in background. Maybe a friend who is sitting nearby might hack your system, right? So maybe a dumb student or individual from your school or college who doesn't know much about your generic academic stuff might just hack onto the system, right? So that's generic on hacking. We'll see something on hacking and its effects. Computer and mobile safety, because none of us are void of this. Everyone uses a computer or mobile, obviously with internet, fine. Then some frauds. So maybe I will just categorize the top 4 frauds. If time permits, we can discuss something on the cases which you have dealt, like. And then social media related. Hope everyone is in Facebook, Insta, and then we'll have a bit of that, and then I'll explain one severe case which that was available in Indian level, right? So what is the severity of the case and what is the consequences of the case and other things. Finally, everyone knows like something happened, right? Something goes wrong. My one fine day, my Gmail ID is not working, or else my Facebook account has been hacked, my Instagram account has been compromised, a fake account has been created in my name. So all these things, what to do, right? So as per the statistics, 90% of the cases in real world are going unreported. So very few cases are reported. We'll see in Indian level where to report the case if at all you have been a victim of cyber frauds. Fine. So before I get on to the session, I just want to start with a video. Maybe it's going to be like a small 3 minutes video, awareness video from one of the general organization. So it will be in native language, obviously somewhere mixed with Tamil. I hope even other participants on seeing the visuals, you'll be able to just grasp what is going on there, right? So let me play that. So if at all you're not able to hear the voice or something is wrong, you can just hold in between. இப்போ ஜஸ்ட் ஒரு 2 வாரம் தான் பேசிட்டு இருக்கோம். அதான் கொஞ்சம் கம்ஃபர்டபுளா இருக்கு. ப்ளீஸ்
Sir, the sound is not audible.
Sorry, you're not able to hear the sound?
No, sir.
It was very less.
While sharing the screen, have you shared the audio also?
So obviously I've done. Just a minute, ma'am. I'm just checking it.
Yeah.
Audio settings. You want me to edit something on this audio setting? I hope my screen is visible now.
Yeah, not in the audio settings, sir. While sharing the screen.
Okay. Okay. Just wait. Let me stop the screen share, and then try to share it again. So I just stopped my
When
screen.
you're sharing it.
Okay, ma'am. I'm just sharing it again. Okay. Share sound. Sorry, I just missed it. Yeah, I'm just sharing the sound and I'm just sharing it again. Okay, so I'm just playing it again. I hope
கொஞ்சம் அந்த புது டாட்டூ
you are able to hear the sound
Now
now,
it's,
ma'am?
yes,
Fine,
yes.
fine. Sounds
தெரியுற
good.
மாதிரி பிக்ஸ் அனுப்பு.
இல்ல இப்போ ஜஸ்ட் ஒரு 2 வாரமா தான் பேசிட்டு இருக்கோம். அதான் எனக்கு கொஞ்சம் அன்கம்ஃபர்டபுளா இருக்கு. ப்ளீஸ் தப்பா எடுத்துக்காத.
ஏச்சி லூசு, போன வாரம் கூட பிக்ஸ் அனுப்புனியே, எதா ஆச்சா? நான் தானே கேட்குறேன். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் நீ
ஓகே அனுப்புறேன், ஆனா பாத்துடா.
அனுப்புற பொண்ணு அனுப்புற பொண்ணு அனுப்புற பொண்ணு உச்சாண்டி பார்த்துடுவா, ஊரை கூட்டி காட்டிடுவா, வாய்ப்பு ரெண்டு ஒதுங்கிடுவா. பாத்துக்க கண்ணு பாத்துக்க கண்ணு பாத்துக்க கண்ணு.
இதத்தானங்க நெட்லையும் பண்றீங்க. நெட்ல ஒரு போட்டோவோ வீடியோவோ ஷேர் பண்ணிட்டோம்னா அதை என்ன பண்ணாலும் ஃபுல்லா அழிக்க முடியாது. அது யாரு கைக்கெல்லாம் போகணும்னு தெரியாது. சோ யாரு கேட்டாலும் நல்லா ஒரு தடவைக்கு 10 தடவை யோசிக்க. ஐயோ
நேர்ல செய்ய மாட்டேன்னு நான் நெட்ல செய்ய மாட்டேன். நேர்ல செய்ய மாட்டேன்னு நான் நெட்ல செய்ய மாட்டேன்.
கண்ணியம்மா பணத்தை சேர்த்து கண்ணியம்மா பணத்தை சேர்த்து பத்திரமா போட்டு ஒரு ஃபுல்லா கள்ளச்சாவி கொடுக்கிற அங்கிள் பூச்சாண்டி பார்த்திருவான், பணத்தை எல்லாம் சுருட்டிடுவான், நடு ரோட்டில் நிறுத்திடுவான். ஆபத்து அங்கிள்.
இதத்தானே சார் நெட்லையும் பண்றீங்க. உங்க பேங்க் அக்கவுண்ட் டீடைல்ஸ், ஏடிஎம் பின்லாம் உங்க பீரோ சாவி மாதிரி தானே சார். சோ நெட்ல எதனா வெரிஃபிகேஷன், லக்கி பிரைஸ் அதுன்னு ஆசை கட்டினாலும் சும்மா கொடுத்துறாதீங்க.
நேர்ல செய்ய மாட்டேன்னு நான் நெட்ல செய்ய மாட்டேன். நேர்ல செய்ய மாட்டேன்னு நான் நெட்ல செய்ய மாட்டேன். நம்பும்படி பிலா விட்டு கொம்ப நல்லா சீவி விட்டு வம்பையெல்லாம் வளர்த்து போட்டு திரியிற தம்பி பூச்சாண்டி பார்த்துருவான், கொலவெறிய தோண்டிருவா, கம்பி என்ன வச்சிருவா, மாட்டுவ தம்பி தொக்கா மாட்டுவ தம்பி.
இதத்தானே ப்ரோ நெட்லையும் பண்றீங்க. சும்மா லைக் ஷேர் அள்ளலாம்னு நீங்க ஷேர் பண்ற வெறுப்பு வதந்தி போஸ்டால ஊர்ல வன்முறையே வெடிக்கலாம். சோ நெட்ல யாரையும் உசுப்பேத்தி குளிர் காயாதீங்க.
நேர்ல செய்ய மாட்டேன்னு நான் நெட்ல செய்ய மாட்டேன். நேர்ல செய்ய மாட்டேன்னு நான் நெட்ல செய்ய மாட்டேன்.
இப்போ பிரச்சனையே வந்து 370 என்ன 35 என்னங்கிறது இல்ல. காஷ்மீர்ல இருக்கிறவங்க இந்தியர்களா உணர்றதுக்கு வேலை செஞ்சிருக்கீங்களா, இந்தியா விட்டு விரட்டுறதுக்கு வேலை செஞ்சிருக்கீங்களா?
Sorry, there's an ad after this, so I just want to play the video. So I hope everyone will agree with this video, the contents of the video. Fine, let's say because it's in native language. நேர்ல செய்ய மாட்டேன்னா நெட்ல செய்ய மாட்டேன். What does it mean? Is like if you're not going to do something physically, right? You don't do it online, digital or virtually. For example, let's take an example. You and me are meeting roadside. Let's imagine like you are a girl from high school, 11th, 12th. You are just walking on the road. I'm coming and asking, hey, just give me your mobile number. Or I'll say like maybe, or else just give me your Facebook ID. You never used to share it, right? But on the same day night, you just get a request from a Facebook profile. It might be your celebrity who might be there in the Facebook. And then the individual will say, have something like the same school which you studied, right? On seeing the name, most common, you say like, I have a name called Kumar. There might be at least one Kumar in every school, right? There might be at least one Senthil in every school, right? So those sort of things. So what people used to do is they used to create fake identities and then start harassing people online. So one part of our course, if at all you're going to just take a course in cybersecurity, bachelor's or master, because Amrita offers both the courses, BTech in cybersecurity and MTech in cybersecurity. So if you're just going to take any course, right, this will be integral part. We'll have something like cyber forensic investigation, cybercrime investigation, right? And then some lab part also will be there. So today we'll be seeing on surface level what is there in this cybercrime investigation. Whatever you see in movies will be a bit of exaggerated version, like some of the cooked version. Okay, just a minute. Let me just talk at the bottom. Fine, yeah. So as you can see here, I hail from Amrita Tifak in Cybersecurity, a research center. We are offering cybersecurity related courses from 2005 for the past 16 years. We are offering master courses in cybersecurity. So and I'll just share you the profile of our department and courses and what we offer. There is nothing much. So we'll just directly get on to the session. Cybercrime in India. So if you really go to a hotel and ask for a menu card, they'll give you, okay, these are all the menu items that's available with us. I have just created my own version of a lightweight menu of what all the cybercrime and types of cybercrime. So if someone asks you at the end of the session, okay, what you attended yesterday, a session on cybercrime investigation. Okay, pretty good. You find a good speaker. Maybe he claims to be experienced person. He said many concepts. Okay, let me know, like you just say me what is cybercrime investigation. Just like in schools and colleges, they used to ask you for a 2-mark question, right? So as you can see here on the screen, unlawful act where the computer is used. Computer in the sense it's not only computers, it covers all digital devices in this scenario. Your computers, laptops, mobiles, or any device which is capable of storing, transmitting, retrieving data. So unlawful act where a computer is used or electronic device is used either as a tool or target or both. Simple. You are using computer as a tool. You are sending a mail to your friend. When your friend clicks on the mail, you get their password. You are spending your computer as a tool. Your friend is receiving your mail. He or she believes you, clicks on that mail, and then they are a target. Their computer is a target. Or both. It can be tool, target, and both. So whenever we talk about this cybercrime investigation or crime scene investigation, so if you want to prove it in the court or something has to be put in limelight, so we used to gather evidences. You might have seen in real world, right? So a murder happened in movies, obviously you might see. So the crime scene will be covered with some tapes, do not enter, police or something. And then maybe you find a police inspector will be coming there and then he'll find, okay, some murder have happened. And then they'll find a typical knife stabbed over an individual. They'll put a pure white kerchief over the knife and take it, put it in a bag and send it to the forensic lab. So this is traditional forensics, right? So how to safeguard the evidence. In real world, what happens? For example, if you have been a victim, someone sent you a mail, you clicked on that link. After that, your account is compromised, right? So what we do, for example, if someone is sending you abusive messages, what normally we tend to do, we delete the messages. Obviously, we are deleting the evidences. One of the thumb rule or important rule in specifically in crime scene or cybercrime related stuff is you do not tamper the evidence or else you do not delete the evidences, right? So you can block them. It's not like that allow them to harass you, fine? You can block them, right? But some evidences has to be there if at all you want to prosecute, bring them into court prosecution or some sort of justification you want to do, right? So you need to have the evidences. Evidences can be your emails, some data in your hard disk, something in your pen drive, something in your Facebook, WhatsApp, or anything it can be, fine? So as you can see here in the categories, unauthorized access, web hacking, pornography, child pornography, I have highlighted something in black because these two are offensive or the most offensive crimes. If someone has the content related to child pornography, if someone has done something related to cyber terrorism, which is going to ruin the integrity of the nation, obviously these are all non-bailable offenses, right? So severe crimes. Other crimes are most common: cyber stacking, denial of service, software piracy, salami attacks. I hope most of you, those who are available here in Tamil Nadu, might have seen a movie called Onion. The hero used to say, like, if you're stealing 5 paise, is it wrong? No problem. No, that doesn't look wrong. If you're stealing 5 paise from 5 people, okay, it might be wrong. If you're stealing 5 paise from 5 people across all the countries or across the globe or 5 different banks or 5 different jurisdictions, it's obviously going to be a crime. Salami attack is one important attack which I want to highlight here. Is like, so you might get a message, 12 paise has been taken from your SBI account. You're not going to go back to SBI and ask like, hey, why you took this 12 paise? So that is happening regularly in many accounts. That is called salami attack. Taking small amount of money, stealing small amount of money from an individual or a group, and then they'll accumulate it to a greater sum, right? Then phishing attack, email spoofing, forgery, cyber defamation. This is going to be the typical menu code for all the cyber crimes related stuff. We are not going to see it one by one. We don't have much of time on that, but we can just make a note of this. If you want, I'll be sharing you the link, online link for this presentation also. So these are all the most common cyber crimes. If at all you're going and filing a cyber crime, you see 90% of the cases comes in any of these categories. Fine. How to prevent cyber crime? So that's what it's here. Using strong password, we'll see some demos. Okay, if you want, I'll just sort it from here. So using a strong password, right? So how many of you have your mobile numbers or password? If yes, you can just type in the chat as yes. Okay, 4, 5, 6. I've seen many participants raising their hands. So let me just give you a comparison. Maybe let me just show you a website. Just give me some time. This website, if at all you are visiting this for the first time, howsecureismypassword.net. What it will say, like, okay, if you give the password, and then they have some privacy policy, they claim that this website doesn't share your password outside. But even though you don't want to give your original password, you can give a similar password and check, because I'm not sure about the trustworthiness of these websites. So let me give you some examples. See, this is my mobile number. Or else most common password. What is the most common password? And the thing is password. So what is your password? Password is my password. So I'm just checking what is the complexity. Instantly, because any password cracking tool can easily crack the password. That's called instantly. You just within a fraction of a second, like this password is going to get compromised. So let me check something else. I'm just trying my 10-digit mobile number. Fine. 200 milliseconds within a second. Fine, obvious. Even more, now we can just imagine. So now I'm not complaining on individuals just to set mobile numbers or password. But the practical scenario, if an attacker, the so-called hacker, is going to get onto your account and then he or she is going to compromise your account. So if you have your mobile number as password for one of your accounts or multiple accounts, fine. So obviously, if they compromise one account, they are going to compromise all your accounts. Fine. So then how to set a strong password? So I'm going to have my first name as password. Let's check the complexity, the same 200 microseconds. My name with my year of birth. Let me check. 42 minutes. Like it's not pretty tough, right? So you just run a password cracking algorithm, and then after 40 minutes, it's going to say, hey, your password is Ashok 1987. Fine. So I'm using some special character. Let me check what will be the strength of my password. 16 hash. If someone wants to crack this password, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 character password with a special character, a number, and an alphabet, right? It's going to take 16 hours. Let me make more complex. My full name is Ashok Kumar Mohan. Ashok is in caps, Kumar is in small, Mohan, M0. I'm adding an alphabet. I'm adding a special character. Simple. It's easy for me to remember. So I'm just seeing 15 billion years, practically speaking, how much complex. But these password, like even if it is so strong, my friend might know. I might have said to my friend, hey, my password is Ashok is small, Ashok is caps, Kumar is small, and some special characters added. So then what to do? In current day, the general recommendations do not have a password. You just see, whenever we talk about password, don't set up a password, set up a passphrase. So everyone have your favorite song, your native language. It may be Tamil, Telugu, Hindi, English, whatever it may be. You take the word from your take a word from your favorite song and keep it as a password. Because most of the password cracking attacks, whichever you have seen on the top right, your mobile number, name, and other things, are going to be a part of dictionary attack. You know, Oxford Dictionary or a pretty good English dictionary, it's going to have like millions of words. So all the words are tested against your username or password. So if at all your password is there in the dictionary word, obviously you are a victim. So never ever set up any passwords. If at all you have anything like your mobile number, name as password, I strongly recommend it, go and change it. Instead of having a password, let's talk about something called passphrase, right? See, I've just typed something like this. Kalangal Odum, right? That's my one of my favorite song. I have a capital letter, I have a special character, and then let's say like let me add a couple of zeros, fine. So if this is my Gmail password, if I'm just having it like this, right? So let's check the complexity of the password. See, 7 quadrillion years. You see, like whenever you increase, the general rule is like you need to have like 8 characters of passwords. Nowadays, due to attacks, it could be minimum 12 characters. It should have a capital, it should have a small, it should have a number, it should have a special character. 12 characters. So again, it should not be a password, it should be a passphrase. So the same thing, if for all I'm just, again, do not reuse it. For example, if someone hacks onto my account, they found this is my Gmail password. So what might be a Facebook password, they can easily guess it. If I'm going to say, use the same thing for my Facebook, right? Obviously, it's going to be vulnerable, right? Don't reuse the password. One general awareness which we used to give, right? Treat your passwords like your toothbrush. So I hope most of you will change your toothbrush every 3 months. You don't reuse the toothbrush. Again, you don't use the toothbrush for years together. Fine. Again, brushes. You use a brush for cleaning your house, cleaning your mouth, and cleaning your hair, or different brushes. So keep different brushes for different cleaning. Same way, keep different passwords for different accounts. Fine. Fine. So why we are saying like don't use the same, even if you are having a strong passphrase, don't use the same passphrase for all the websites, because the attacker can easily guess your password. Fine. So this is one thing. So now we're talking about this passwords. Fine. So then keep your social media accounts private. One most common, as ma'am said, like even I used to work with law enforcement people, police people regarding real world cases. The most common thing is like, and the claim is like the individual might not have a Facebook account or Instagram account, most common. Someone else might have created an account. That is one of the offenses. Second thing is like you might have an account in Instagram, but all your classmates, you might have a boys group. 20 boys will know your password. So anyone can log in at any time and then they can change anything. So I used to remember, not now, like maybe like more than 10 years, there was a social media called Orkut. Now Facebook is so familiar. Right? Previously, there was something like an Orkut. Social media was there. I used to remember, maybe if I, without logging out, right? I just go out and come back. My status will be changed from single to committed. So all of my friends, it will be reflected saying that this guy is committed, because some of my friend who's sitting nearby might have just done it for fun. Initially, the so-called hacking, specifically in school or college level, starts like for fun and profit. You do it, sir, just like that I did, to just do some fun, right? So that's what we call it as. Nowadays, we are just much comfortable doing something like meme, right? Meme or troll pages, right? That's a main difference between a meme and troll. Troll is doing it only for fun. Meme should have a meaning in that, but currently memes are not having any meaning, right? So they don't convey any message. Memes are again converting themselves into trolls, right? So that is happening on real world, fine. So in securing your mobile device, I strongly recommend anyone or everyone who those are available here, go to Play Store, find an antivirus. If you ask me to give some names, I name it as Avast, one of the free antivirus. Download the antivirus for mobile and enable it. So there were some questions available in the chat box. Many were asking, madam, which app to trust, which app to install, right? So if you have an antivirus in your mobile, it clearly say, hey, you are installing an app. This app is not from Play Store. Your friend might have given an app saying that, hey, it is Free Fire game with some all cheat codes and other things, right? So when you install the app, your antivirus will clearly say, hey, this app is not valid. It's going to do something offensive. We call it as a signature. Each file will have some signatures. Your antivirus will detect from the signature saying that this app is not from a original vendor. So most of you might be using WhatsApp, right? Black WhatsApp, pink WhatsApp, twin WhatsApp, different versions of WhatsApp, right? So they'll give you some additional features, finding whether your friend have replied to your message or just checking some additional details about your friend's status and all those sort of things. But that is not actually from the actual vendor, maybe from WhatsApp, right? So that is on securing your mobile devices. Protecting your data by using encryption, protecting your identity online, keeping your computer current, like update and keep your computer, protect your computer with secure software, all these things. This is like surface level. If you want to secure yourself, right? So these things have to be mandatory. You need to follow these basic steps, fine? So we have seen what all the list of cyber crimes. We have seen basic, these are all first aid activities to just make sure like you're not getting compromised or hacked or so, fine? Cyber laws in India, again, whenever you take a course, inside the course, there will be something related to cyber laws, at least in Indian version will be available. So if someone hacks onto your account, right? Or else someone publish obscene or offensive information, someone will put a morphed photo of you in Instagram, you can go and file a case against them. The law will be IT Act, that is called Information Technology Act, and section will be 670. Most of us might know the common section, right? 420. 420 is Indian Penal Code, IPC Act, right? If someone commits a fraud or forgery, we file a case against them in 420. So whatever is given here in section number 65, 66, 67, 72, all these sections are computer-related offenses. If someone commits a crime, a computer-related offense, they can be put behind bars or case can be filed against them in these laws. Right? So again, this is only a limelight to show you the sections. We are not going to go deep into sections. As I said, you are taking a course, like you will just get the details about the sections and other things if you have an elective course on cyber laws. Right? So this is generic. What are all the offenses? How to become safe? If something goes wrong, how to file a complaint? So that is generic on cybercrime. Let's check on to the fascinating keyword. Most of you may be interested. Yeah, I want to hack my friend's Facebook account. So even after this session, I'll be sharing my mobile number and Gmail ID. One fine day, someone will call me, sir, I attended your session. And then my friend is annoying me. Just please can you just hack his account and give? Or else my friend's account is hacked. I know the person who hacked the account. Can you just please hack their account and give? All these keywords, fascinating stuffs on this so-called hacking stuff, right? So it's getting popular, right? So why this is trending nowadays? Like why the so-called computer hacking or hacking is getting trending? What that is, right? We were relying something on pen and papers. Anything you want to do, I still remember before 10-15 years when we go for browsing in a browsing center, right? You need to turn on the computer, open, type google.com, go have a coffee and come back, then google.com will be live, fine? So it will take some dial-up, older connections, right? But nowadays, everything is in your fingertips, right? You have your mobiles, tablets, everything live, up and running. Even in this session, most of you might have been viewing this via Zoom in your mobile devices or tablets, right? So what are the reasons the so-called hacking is happening? Fine. Easy money without revealing the identity. Fine. If someone, let's take an example. If someone wants to steal money physically, they want to find the person, go take them or attack them, and then steal their purse or something. But online, it's so obvious, right? Using a fake or stolen IP. IP address is typically an identity for your computer device on the internet, right? Fine. So complex technology and coding. Nowadays, everything is getting complex, right? Complex in the sense like when you get onto the course, you'll learn a course called secure coding. So what does it mean? It not only allows you to write a code on what is addition of two numbers, it'll allow you to, we'll train you to just write a code on how to write addition of two numbers securely. Securely means if you're adding two numbers, 5 plus 2 is going to give you 7, right? So instead of 5 plus 2, if I am giving A plus B, it should pop up an error, right? It should not give me some random answers, right? So that is called secure coding techniques, right? So nowadays, this is most common. You say like, if you want to say, I want to just compromise a Facebook account or a YouTube account or a Instagram account, you go find n number of YouTube videos. You go find some codes. Someone of your friend will give you, hey, send this code to your friend. He will click, you will get his password. So that is going to be a code. Again, most of the viruses, right? In real world, whatever we see as the so-called viruses, yet another program, right? So they are going to be some complex set of codes, right? Sequences. When you click, you just open it. So many people ask us some questions on torrents. When you go and download movies online, torrent might download in the foreground. In background, obviously, if you have stored your password in your browser, they may steal your password. The code is written in such a way, right? They know how to easily fool your biometrics if you have any sort of authentication or login mechanisms. So you even whenever Apple releases a new mobile device, right, there's one researcher. He'll clearly say, hey, I can just break onto your fingerprint authentication or face recognition authentication. That is most common, right? And evidence can be easily destroyed. See, nowadays, like you do something offensive in pen and papers, your faculty might come and show you, okay, this paper, this is how you committed a crime or this is how you just committed an offense. The paper or the notebook will come as a proof. But you do something offline, maybe offensive in a group, you delete the chat, you delete the photo, fine? It goes on like that, right? So one thing before getting on to the next thing. So what happens when you delete something online? So what happens? I hope you can just type it in chat. So you're deleting your Facebook account online. You're putting a photo in Instagram. Tomorrow you don't like it, you're deleting it. Fine. I hope you can just type it in chat. It will be easy, chat or Q&A. Fine. Cool. Q&A is pretty lengthy. You can type it in chat. The image will be saved. It will be just hidden. Okay. Let me give you a real world example. Let's take a book, right? If you're having a 600 pages book, a pretty lengthy, big book. So I'm just opening the book, tearing the index page number 50 to 100. I'm not tearing the 50 to 100 pages. I'm opening your book. I'm taking the index page number 50 to 100. I'm tearing only one index page. What does it say? One index page is deleted. That index page has the contents of page number 50 to 100. So obviously the contents of the page number 50 to 100 will be available inside your book. If you can search and find it, you can easily find it, fine? So this is what happens in real world whenever you delete data from any electronic storage. It may be your pen drive, it may be your hard disk, it may be your cloud, your social media accounts, anywhere. If you're deleting something, you're not going to delete the data, you're going to delete the link for the data. You can see that practically. See, if you want to copy a 4 GB movie from pen drive to your computer, fine? So it will take minimum 3 minutes to 4 minutes to copy the movie, 4 GB high HD movie or something, fine? So if you want to delete the movie, click on delete the movie. Within 10 seconds, it is deleted. Then what's the logic? It takes 4 minutes or 5 minutes to copy the movie, but for deleting the movie, it's deleting in 10 seconds. Deleting a 4 GB movie, 10 seconds. Deleting a 50 GB content, 10 seconds. Deleting a 500 GB hard disk, 10 seconds. What does it mean? They are not deleting your content. They are going to delete only the link of the files. Yeah, many recovery softwares are available. You put the recovery software, you can recover everything. Whatever you are talking today, cybercrime investigation or cyber forensics is all about recovering data mostly, right? So someone might have deleted, you might have sent a mail and deleted the mail. That comes into an offense, a case is filed. So maybe investigators will come and find with your mail server or your place where you hosted the mail to recover the mail. You sent a photo and deleted. Obviously, multiple copies will be available on the internet. You can see the first video which you have seen, right? So you can typically imagine like putting something in Tirupati Hundi, right? So you are putting some amount of money in Tirupati Hundi. Later you regret if you want to take. Not possible. You cannot take it back. It can come to you in different form. Maybe after some days, some months, it might come to you in different form. The same way, you put you put your private photo to your friend. In your mobile, it is stored SD card. In your friend's mobile, SD card, it is stored. Your friend shares it to a closed group. You are not in the group. It's another group. Your friend shares it to the group. It goes to 250 members, 250 SD card. One of your friends takes it. One of the group member takes it and put it in some closed social media. One member to 250 members to 2,500 members to 25,000 members. It goes on. So imagine like your photo, maybe your abusive or offensive photo, your private photo is available on 25,000 SD cards, not 2 SD cards. It's 25,000 SD cards or different storage devices. How come you go and delete? Practically impossible, right? So that's what happens in real world. As you can see here on the screen, see right side, left side, burglary, someone want to steal your data. Deceptive call, someone calls you and just extracts your money. Extortion, someone shows you a gun and takes money from you. Fraud, someone commits a fraud and just steals your money. Identity theft, someone creates a fake ID or else you put your electricity bill in your dustbin. They take it and use it for offensive purpose. Child exploitation, some senior person just try to exploit children, try to do something offensive. Whatever you see on the left hand side are happening on normal world. So you see digital world, everything is all about a guy or a girl who is sitting with a computer, right? Hacking instead of burglary, instead of deceptive calls, phishing mails, instead of extortion, internet extortion, instead of fraud, it is internet fraud, instead of identity theft, it is online identity theft. All these things are going to happen online. Fine. So this is generic from traditional crimes and cyber crimes. So computers and mobiles. You see the statistics, 34% of the smartphone users don't use security measure. So you see like 100 people, maybe 1,000 people are available here. This statistic says around 300 people don't use a PIN or password. If you use a password, it might be 0000, your year of birth, 1987. Or else your first four name, ASHOKO, fine. So easily guessable passwords, or they never use passwords or PIN or password, fine. See what might be a risk? You might have installed an infected app. That's what many people are asking, sir, whether I can download it from Play Store, whether I can download it from outside. There's a survey saying that 1 in 10 app in Play Store is malicious. Malicious means going to do something bad, fine. It's not like that if it is in Play Store, it's a reliable app. You know, right? For example, let's take a real day-to-day application which we use. Zomato, maybe food ordering app. The app needs your GPS location. It's pretty well and good. You just give permission, GPS permission for that app to deliver your food. What's the need for that app to get your SD card permission? SD card permission in the sense you are physically removing your SD card and giving it in their hand. It's equivalent to giving a permission for your SD card to an app. Fine. There are many apps. Even you can just go to Play Store and find an app permission tool. So it clearly says you have installed 105 apps in your mobile. Out of 105 apps, 35 apps are having your camera permission. What does it literally means? Without your permissions, they can just turn on and off your camera anytime. Fine. So if at all, you hope everyone uses a mobile, right? So you can check with any app permission checker tool that's available in Play Store. Again, be cautious. You don't download yet another malicious tool. Fine. Download an app permission tool and check what all the permission you are given. If you don't want, you revoke the permission, because the software is with the application, whichever you are installing and using it for free, right? If you don't want, you are going to revoke it, nothing harm. Okay. Keeping your software update, protecting your device with passwords, passcodes, use a secure network, do not connect to open Wi-Fi. Nowadays, it's most common. You go to a place, find an open Wi-Fi, you connect. You click on facebook.com, it looks like Facebook page, but the attacker might have been saving your password in the background. Not all free Wi-Fi's are so-called free, fine. Use trusted app stores, do not download it from outside. This is generic on computer and mobile safety. Right? So let's discuss on some cases, because I thought of discussing at least surface level cases that are happening on online, cybercrime related cases. You can see here, income tax refund fraud, the most common case available, at least in India, during August, September. Not you, like you might have just go and check with your father and mother. Most of them might be filing IT. They'll say you get a mail from income tax India @gmail.com, right? So there's a website for e-filing. There's a procedure for filing IT. Most of you might know what is IT filing. Your parents might file income tax to government, fine. So one fine day, they'll get a mail. Hey, you filed an IT. They might get some basic information from your social media profiles. Your father's name, his company, which year he joined the company. They'll say you're working in this company for 15 years. You're filing IT. But this year, your IT, whichever you file, you cheated the government. I've attached the document with this mail. You need to approve. You need to appear before the court. Maybe next week Friday. So what they'll feel embarrassed, right? Or else they'll tend to click on the document, right? So that is most common. Most of the common cases is these type of cases are called as identity theft, right? Identity theft cases, right? Or else it's going to be like, online scams goes on like this. So because like whenever you want to file something on income tax, incometax.gov.in, there will be a website saying that, hey, I am a government website, only website for filing income tax. But you will get a mail from incometaxindia2021@gmail.com. Why the government is going to send a mail from gmail.com? Fine. Specifically with these sort of sensitive details, right? So you get a mail, and maybe if you are getting a Gmail from this mail ID, the Gmail, the icon, the top right corner will be Indian government logo. You believe that someone who is receiving the mail will believe that it is from Income Tax India, fine. So many site mail IDs will be there. Instead of this mail ID, right, incometaxindia2021.com. They may create a website also, offensive website, and just put exactly similar looking website. You can see here, this is government website. They can copy this website and put a similar looking website, fine. And this is one of the most common frauds, one type, fine. As you can see here, I've just highlighted a older mail from one of my mail, right, sample. See, it clearly says that Income Tax Department refund tax @incometax.gov.in. So if I'm going to analyze the email, right, it will say like @incometax.gov.in, right? It might not have come from @incometax.gov.in, fine. Or else if you just copy this keyword, right, incometax.gov.in, there might be not any website in this name, right? There is not any website in this name. But the attackers might create fake mail IDs. There are n number of online tools to create fake mail IDs, and then they'll send you a mail. See, tax refund online. You can get a tax refund. It might be a hyperlink. When you take the mouse here, it will show you a cursor. Click on that. So obviously, when you click on that, the so-called damage is done. Just like nowadays we talk about coronavirus infection, right? If you just touch something, if you're not using mask, if you're not using sanitizer, you're prone to attack or vulnerable to this attack. So whenever we talk about emails on these sort of things, until and otherwise you click on that, you are safe. If you click on that, obviously half or most of the damage is done. So then what to do instead of clicking this? So you can right click on the link and copy the link, fine. So you can go on to websites. Let me give you some names like Fish Tank. There's a website called Fish Tank. So there you can copy the link and paste it. It will clearly say whether the website link is good or bad. Fine. And you can just verify that. You do not click on that, right click and copy the link. Because if it's a link, when you take the cursor over that, your hand symbol will come. Then you can right click and copy on the link. Fine. So that is generic. One of the most common offense that is conducted on real world. Let me move it here. Yeah. So second thing is fake government recruitment scam. This was one of the scam which happened maybe last to last year, right? So there was a website created in name of Punjab Police, right? And then they just put a post saying that, say you might get a mail saying that, hey, you're completed BTech, or you're just saying doing BTech. So you've been selected, you've been asked to attend an interview for Punjab government. So simple. What is the name of the website? punjabpolicerecruitment.com. Fine. See, let me just show you an example. I'm not going to use any government websites here. Fine. But let me show you an example with, okay. There's a website called Whois. Fine. That's a website to check who is, right? Maybe we have telephone directories, right? So what does the telephone directory does? Telephone directory, if you go and search for a number, it will say, okay, this is the number of Ashok Kumar Mohan from Madurai, this location or something. So typically, like websites, right? Which website? You have got a mail or a message from a website, right? So I want to know what is www. www.amrita.edu. Fine. So I'm just clicking on search. It clearly say what is amrita.edu, in whose name it is registered. Fine. All details. See, Amrita institution, Etimadai, it was registered in Amrita. See the individual, it's again giving in whose name it is registered, in which year it was registered, what all the name servers it is registered. It started in 1998 because it's pretty old. The website was registered in 1998 for amrita.edu. Still now we are using it. Fine. This is common. But as you can see here, punjabpolice.gov, this website, technically speaking, if the investigator is checking the details online like this, so you will find the website was created only 1 month before the crime happened. Maybe the mail was received in 2020 December, 2020 November or June or July, or somewhere in before 3 or 4 months only the website was created. So one online thing what cybercrime investigator we used to do is like, if you get a website, something like that, check the reputation, whether the website is old or recently created, whether they are just registered under the same name. That is one thing to check on this fake recruitment things. ATM skimming is most common. Everyone knows. You might have seen this. Instead of your ATM keyboard, they may put a keyboard above. They may put an additional camera. They may put a card skimmer. Nowadays, the policies are getting strict. CCTV cameras are everywhere. But with the help of people those who work in this ATM, some offenses are even carried out. You can see here. There will be a small box like this will be there. Whenever you put the card, your card will be copied. A small chip will be available. 128 MB chip. It can store around some 1,000 card information. One day in an ATM, maximum 1,000 people will come. It will store all the 1,000 card information. Fine. So this is traditional crime now connected with cyber crimes. Then RFID card skimming, yet another. Nowadays, everything is work from home, study from home, right? So you might have seen, you can just check, maybe today, even after the end of this session, right? You go to your father or mother, right? Ask them their credit cards. You're not going to use their credit cards. Check whether this symbol is there. Most of you might know this is typically a symbol for Wi-Fi, right? Wireless communication. So if your parent or if you have a card with this Wi-Fi enabled, it is called as RFID enabled card. So what it is, what we do, we used to go to a place and swipe the card in the POC machine, right? No need to swipe it. You have the card in your purse. I can sit nearby. I can just take some amount from your card. Fine. So because your card is Wi-Fi enabled, some of the details I know, maybe the card number or some basic details I know, just coming and standing nearby you, you have your purse, wallet in your pocket, just coming and standing nearby you, the attacker can just steal your money. So how to prevent this? So use some aluminum foil sleeve wallet. You can see here. There are some card pouches available, not like 10 rupees pouch which you get it in the roadside. So these pouches and wallets are aluminum foil enabled pouches. If you put the card inside that and keep it, if your card is Wi-Fi enabled, someone tries to hack your card, they cannot get it. It's typically going to seal the wireless interface, seal the wireless connection in and out of the box. So these 4 are the most common traditional crimes. You see like 100 cases are reported. You see 90% of the cases comes in this category. Either an email, a fake website, some ATM frauds connected to that. And then some of the online frauds related to skimming or these sort of things. So this is typical general financial frauds. So now we get on to our area of interest. Social media, fine. I hope everyone in this meeting will have a Facebook account, Instagram account, YouTube channel, fine, obvious. If you don't have a YouTube channel, if you don't have a Facebook account, I strongly recommend at least at the end of the session, go google.com and search for your name, or else go to Facebook and search your name, because we are dealing with many cases in real world. What does it mean? The boy or a girl studying in 10th or 12th might have not created any social media accounts, but his friend might have created in their name because his friend knows his date of birth. Sometimes he might know his Gmail ID password. Sometimes he might know his, he might have quite a good number of photos with him. Easy, good to create a fake Facebook ID, fine. See, this was a case that was reported last year, fine. Because most of you are school students, right? 10th or 12th grade students. I just strongly thought of discussing with you the severity of these cases. See, Delhi police identified some 26 boys from a high school in Delhi. They had on WhatsApp, they had an Instagram group called as Boys Locker Room, not BOIS, BOIS. Now the group is, now these groups are deleted. Some fake groups are in this name. So I strongly recommend you to not to get onto any of these groups, right? So what was there, right? So the boys those are available, 10th, 11th, specifically 11th and 12th grade boys, right? So they were just talking something abusive against their class girls. So they are taking their photos from social media, morphing it, putting in the group. That's typically like a part of their daily activity. Just like saying good morning and good evening, they were doing this for things. So that is called as Boy Stalker, right? This was one of the group that is in Instagram. The case was reported somewhere last year. Fine. So you can see here. So this is a part of the investigation, right? See how many are available here. What are the screenshots they were sharing? They're not sharing the screenshots of celebrities. They are sharing the screenshots of their own classmates. So you think of like you have a brother and you have a sister, and then you study in 10th, your sister studies in 11th. Some of your friends put a marked photo of your sister. You will feel abusive, right? You just try to attack them. But what if you are just sharing your own classmates, right? Because again, they are going to be, even if they are not your relatives or so, right? They are going to have some privacy, right? So you can see here one thing, how this happened, like maybe not only this case, whichever you are talking about, Boy Stalker case, right? So in real world, right? So we can see here maybe image on the left side and image on the right side. See exactly from the image on the left side and right side, you might have seen in here in movies. Some celebrities will have a black color Ray-Ban glass or something, some glasses. They'll say, if I put this glass, I can see you nude, right? So that is one. There is no technology behind that, right? But here you can see here the image on the left side and image on the right side. Exactly what happens in today's real world. Nowadays, again, the girls those who are available in today's meeting. See, now we can just imagine how many of us are posting our photos, good-looking photos. Girls here might just put a photo with your sari or half sari in your social medias. But offenders might take your photo, link it with some nude images. They can easily exactly paste your head to that, right? So all the days, if you do a Photoshop, easily it can be found. You can see here whether any differentiation from left to right. It's exactly look-alike, right? Look-alike the same images, fine? Without any visual changes, right? So they have exactly removed the dress of the individual. So not only doing, if you ask a Photoshop developer to do this, you may take some 15 to 20 minutes to remove it from one photo. What if you're a mobile number, you are in a WhatsApp group. In WhatsApp group, there are like 500 photos of yourself available. So if the attacker wants to convert all the 500 photos within 10 seconds, he can do. How? You can see there are websites available like this. These websites are closed now. I'm just masking all the identity of the website. So in the website, what the website does, this is a post from the developer of the website. He said like, I developed it for showing that this can be done, like a proof of concept, right? Some silly justification. See, so you give a folder with 500 photos of boys or girls or someone. Within instance, it will convert it into nude or porn related images and give it to them. So now you know the severity. So how we are posting our images, photos on social medias, keeping your Facebook profile open, Instagram profile open. Someone can download it, use this software. These softwares are pretty not much costly. It costs around some $50, right? Something around 3,500 rupees. Someone can go online buy this. Now it's locked and it's from US. FBI have sealed this website and they arrested the founder of the website, right? But yet many are available on online, right? So this is Boy Stalker room. Not only then, see even there after identifying this Boy Stalker room, there were some Instagram group identified like Girls Stalker room. Equal to boys, girls were also just sending some offensive messages. So because right, all these things are happening online. It is good. It's only news, right? News in pen and papers or news in medias. Unless and otherwise it happens to you and me, or your brother and sister, or my brother and sister. Right? So even the same day when this Boy Stalker room was identified in Delhi, right? There was another case in which, maybe an innocent boy from maybe like class 12th, right? This boy, Manav, right? So he was harassed by his friends saying that he is sending abusive messages to he doesn't send any abusive message to his class girls, but other people was harassing them, sending false information saying that this boy is sending offensive message to girls in their classes. So he was in depression, maybe a couple of days after he was forced to commit suicide, fine? So you can see the severity. So the extremely different cases, what was there in Boy Stalker room, what was there in this case, it's all about awareness. As I said, it's not going to be much severe unless and otherwise it happens to us, but it's not so just like Corona is spreading everywhere, these things are also spreading everywhere. Fine. So all these things, maybe whenever we talk about this cybercrime investigation, so whatever cases, it can be a Boy Stalker case, it may be a ATM fraud, it may be a phishing mail, whatever it may be. So maybe we have some courses which will just teach you, which will just give you some guidance, mentorship on how to analyze. Nowadays, like Indian government, state governments are also establishing cybercrime cells in every state, every district, right? So there are many openings available. Even I used to teach my master's student Many of my students are there. They are just doing internship in cybercrime. You say like Kerala cybercrime, Maharashtra cybercrime. Fine. So then final thing, before we wind off for the session, right? How to report it, where to report it. One of the most common website, government website is cybercrime.gov.in. This is the government website, official website where you can go and report cases. And then each city will have cybercrime Delhi, cybercrime Mumbai, cybercrime Coimbatore. They'll have their own website, but you verify. Cybercrime.gov.in is official website. You can go, you can file a case. You can just say like maybe what offense. You can give the evidences, screenshots, photos, and you can file a case. And then there are autonomous websites. See, even I have been a part of website, maybe a group called Cyber Onion in Northeast in Assam. They used to do some cybercrime related analysis. So there are some autonomous or private websites are available. If at all you want to go for a third party investigation, but it's recommended you can just go file a case against the individual or from cybercrime.gov.in. Right? How to file a complaint? Simple. You go to their website, you give the evidences, right? So if your Facebook account is hacked, give your old Facebook ID, password, and then you give some screenshots saying that it is locked, you are not able to log in and all details. So what happened? Who hacked your account? If at all you have some suspect saying that this guy or this girl who hacked your account, you can give details. Why it happened? Why they are doing fun and profit for money? They are calling and asking you to send some money, these sort of things. The same way for email abuses. We are not going to read in depth, fine. But this is a general procedure on how to file a complaint. Fine. See, before winding up the session, I hope I have another, at least I'll take another 5 minutes, right? So whatever we have covered in today's session is going to be like a bird's eye view of cybercrime. Fine. So before this, I'll just show you a couple of procedures. So because this session is all about cybercrime investigation, right? So investigating a Facebook crime, or else I'll show you some interesting case for you. Yeah, let me just make this full screen. Full screen. Yeah. See, investigation of objectionable viral pictures or videos. For example, tomorrow you go on YouTube, you find a photo or a video in which your photo is morphed. Or else you find some of your friends or relatives or any unknown person. So they have been abused in that video. We can go and report a case, right? So once when you report a case, what the law enforcement people will do, maybe police people or people those are investigating, what they will do. So these things we call it as, this is called as SOP, standard operating procedure. Whenever a case is filed or case is to be filed or even after filing a case, how the investigation goes on, typically in cybercrime, fine? So most of you might have seen this video, the most trending video last year on YouTube, right? So someone who created a case in saying that maybe some children who are involved in creating these videos, child abuse have been done. It was reported, fine. So first the police people will just register an FIR, they'll get a complaint from complainant. So if you or your parents are filing a complaint, they'll get the complaint details, fine. What are the applicable sections? We saw the cyber laws, right? Section 294, section 354, all sections. Obscene act of song, the song is obscene. Public disturbing of woman, it's like degrading woman's individual. Sexual harassment or punishable offense, right? So in these sections, the cases will be filed, fine, after you just give a complaint. Many sections will be there. This is IPC section, Indian Penal Code, normal section. This is going to be cyber laws, 66E, 67, all these things. Violation of privacy. Without the consent of the individual or a kid, the video is published online. Without the knowledge of their parents, the video is published online. So what should be available before you register a complaint? Prerequisites. What is a picture or video file? Where the YouTube channel or YouTube link should be there. Detailed social network platform, if at all it is in WhatsApp, Facebook or Instagram. URL, the address, web address of that link. Screenshot, because sometimes the attacker, the individual hacker might remove the post after 2 days. You have to have the screenshot. Before a week, this video was available online. Then hash values, we are not going to talk about hash values. Hash values is typically to check the actual content, the video or audio or photo is without any modification. We'll see that if at all you are going to take a forensic course, we'll discuss about hash values later. Importance of hash function, what is hash value, popular hashes, and how to calculate hash value. See, hash values is simple. I'm sending you a message. Meet me at 6. So you're receiving the message called as meet me at 9. What is the scenario? Sender have sent a message. This sender, you say like Ashok have sent a message like this, but Mohan have received a message like this. What does that mean? In between in the network, something went abusive, right? Someone have just stolen your data and changed it 6 to 9. So what you are talking about this hash, HASH, right? Hash is typically, I'm just calculating a hash. Typically hashes, you can imagine hash like a formula. For this message, I'm putting a formula. Formula says this. For this message, I'm putting the same formula, same tool, right? So what the formula will say? The formula will say something like this. So whether these both are same? No, right? Entirely different. If hashes are changing, right, your messages are changing. If this is also going to be at 6, right? So obviously your hash value before and after calculating will be like this. Both hash without any single change. It can be 4 character, 8 character, 32 character, fine. So it depends. So this is hashes, fine, practically speaking. So whenever you get an evidence, audio, a video or photo, hashes have to be taken with hashes, because if you're taking the hash and producing in the code, if someone comes and claims that this is not the actual video, you can calculate the hash. If hash is matching, the conclusion is the video or photo is not modified, fine. So this is how to calculate hash calculator, fine. So generic, I'm skipping on this. Many hash calculator tools are available to calculate the hash. Form of complaint, nature of the file. It's an audio or video or photo. What is the complaint? Who's the victim? Who's the individual? If at all you have some suspect who might have done the crime, you can just give all these details. Details of the website. If it is in Facebook or YouTube, give the Facebook, YouTube ID, URL. If it's in WhatsApp, what's the name of the WhatsApp group? If it's in Instagram, what is the name of the Instagram ID or group? All these details. The law enforcement people will get all the details first your complaint. After that, what they'll do, till this we know, right? After this, we don't have much clarity. Let's take the same from YouTube. The YouTube has created using a Gmail account. They'll find what is a Gmail account. They'll go to Gmail and ask, hey, who's using this Gmail account? Gmail will give them a IP. The IP might be an Airtel IP. They'll go to Airtel. Law enforcement people will go to Airtel and find whose name this IP is there, which home address, which telephone number it is there. Then they'll find the individual name. So this is how police people used to investigate. See, procedure for investigating, they have some procedures. IP address, finding who's the IP address, finding the email, finding the service provider, getting the details. See, is 65B, typically we call it as 65B of Indian Evidence Act. So this certificate have to be produced with the evidence saying that is the actual evidence, fine. So that is generic. So when someone goes, gathers all this information, he finds this guy is sitting in this Chennai, in this house, in this IP address, right? They'll go to the house and seize the evidence. You see in movies, they go open their computers, they take their mobile phones, they'll get a proper police complaint, and then they gather all these details. After that, after this comes the role of forensic investigator. You know, if at all you're taking a course on BTech in cybersecurity or MTech in cybersecurity, we'll have some courses on how to do a cybercrime investigation. After gathering the evidence from the crime scene, we'll just have some courses on how to analyze the evidence. How to, someone have taken a photo from your mobile SD card, they deleted the photo. How to recover the photo? They have just sent a mail and deleted the mail. How to recover the mail? All these things comes as a technical part. See, if you want to get something from Facebook, records at facebook.com. You and me cannot mail from Gmail ID, they won't reply. They'll reply only from the government ID, right? From police people, from government ID only, they'll verify that and they'll reply. List APA at google.com, how to get details from Google, how to get details from YouTube. But as I said, how to get details from WhatsApp. You can get it only with, okay, emergency disclosure report. See how the report will look like. See how Facebook will reply for the Facebook ID. Again, thumbnail search. The same video is deleted in YouTube, but the video thumbnail is available on Google. You search for the video name, some thumbnails, small icons will be available. That can be taken, hashes can be taken, it can be stored as an evidence. But all the videos deleted. See, the video is released on 1st March 2018. Case is coming to court on today, 2021. Within these 3 years, someone might have deleted the original sender of the video, might have deleted the video. See how the case was filed and how police people started investigating, fine. So this is generic. A real world crime scene investigation will typically look like this, fine. So I hope, as a concluding note, right, whatever we have seen today in this 45 minutes or 50 minutes is bird's eye view of cybercrime. See, the eagle is flying, it's seeing what is there. The eagle might be seeing at a dove, it might be seeing at the prey. So today we saw the eagle's view. What is cybercrime? Cybercrime in India, surface level. Each and individual cybercrimes will have their own operating procedures, how to solve and how to analyze. So any course you take related to cybersecurity will have, it's not like that we are going to teach all cybercrime related courses. Maybe 1 or 2 courses will be available for teaching this cybercrime investigation. Sharing is security, happy sharing. You can see here, whichever you have typed on the top. This is how you need to set a password or passphrase. See how complex this password is. It will take years together to crack the password. And the disclosure, whatever images, audio, video shown on this presentation, it's all the copyright of their owners. I don't claim any copyright for the content. Fine, this is my disclaimer. And as ma'am gave an intro, I'm Ashok Kumar Mohan. This is my mail and mobile number. Again, I don't encourage any call saying that, sir, please hack the account and give it to me. Fine, we don't do the stuff because we are into academics. We know the laws, we know the regulations. But anything is offensive, someone have hacked on your account, you are really a victim of a cybercrime. We are happy to help. We are happy to help you to recover from the incident or attack. Fine. So this is generic. Before we wind off, see there are some courses offered at Amrita. We offer a course called Computer Hacking Forensic Investigator. Typical and international certification which will train you on all cybercrime investigation which we saw. From how to take an evidence till how to produce in the code. On this course we'll just take. It's going to be an integral part of your any of your bachelor's or master courses. So this is generic, what I want to discuss today. And then I have a couple of websites. If time permits another 2 minutes, I'll just show you those. Just a minute. Yeah, let me come back to this. Yeah. How secure is my password? We have seen this. So there is another website called as Have I Been Pawned? What does it mean? See, let me give my mail ID. I'm going to give my old mail ID because I'm not using that mail ID anymore. Ashok number 4 galaxy@gmail.com. I'm checking. This website will clearly say whether there's a typo error, gmail.com. Whether my website, my mail ID has been hacked or some account. See, pawnage, 12 data breaches. What does that mean? It's not like that this Gmail ID is hacked. This Gmail ID has an account in 00 web hosting, Adobe website, Canva website, Citode website, Sitsex website, collection website. So let's take an example of this 00 web hosting. In 2015, anyone having an account in this website, see, there are around some 15 million customer details was leaked. I am one among the customer who's using this Gmail ID. If I'm using the same password for both the website, that password or mail ID might be already leaked. Fine. So instead of this, if I'm just giving my some other mail ID, I hope this is one of my. I have many Gmail IDs, obviously for R&D and other purpose I used to use. See, good news. So this Gmail ID, whichever I'm using, it's not there in the password hacked list. See, this is the list of passwords hacked day by day. Every day this list is populated. Right? So Have I Been Pawned is one website where you can go and verify. If your Gmail ID is pawned, don't panic. Go to Gmail settings, change your password 2 times. That is more than enough. Right? Change, enable OTP, change your maybe set your mobile authentication, and that's it. Right? So one thing, see, this is interesting. You know this person. I hope you would have heard. You might have seen the last week previous classes on something on image processing, artificial intelligence. This website clearly creates photos of person those who does not exist on the globe. So these persons are not existing on the globe. Only softwares are making these photos. See, if I'm giving Indian origin, it can make photos like Indian origin. One fine day you get a Facebook request, right? From this account, from this lady who looks like maybe a US or UK citizen. Fine. So this person, okay, he says like, hey, I work for Microsoft. I'm from US. I hail from India. I'm from Gujarat, something. So obviously we tend to reply for them. Fine. See this website. There are many websites which used to create fake identities. Not only fake Gmail ID, fake password, fake photos, or fake individuals. Fine. Then when we get on to cybersecurity jobs in India, you'll find all statistics. Indeed.com is a website which gives you all job search. I searched for cybercrime investigation. See, one job role is cybercrime investigator. What is the job role? What is the duty? Bachelor's course. What are the requirements to apply for the job? Fine. Cyber forensic expert. So we saw right today how to gather an evidence, how to analyze an evidence, how to just recover the data from the evidence, and how to report it in the code. This is the job regulation. If you know all these things, this company might hire you for a cyber forensic expert role. Then something like digital forensic analyst. I'm just talking all about cybercrime investigation related cybersecurity. There are many other cybersecurity domains available. With respect to today's things, I'm talking only on cybercrime related job roles. Fine. Yeah. So that's it from my side. I hope I've just taken some additional time, 10 or 15 minutes, but it's quite worth discussing on that. Fine. So any questions, queries? I hope there might be quite a good number of questions in chat and Q&A. We'll try to answer as many as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, Ashok. We tried answering some of them, but some questions might be specifically addressed to you.
Sure, ma'am. Can you just highlight those questions, ma'am, so that I'll just answer it live?
I think I have to find it from this.
So, okay, I'm just scrolling on the Q&A.
Yeah, sure.
I'll try to. Okay, if you're attacked by a virus.
So there is one question which says, does forensic means malware analysis?
Okay, forensic is typically digital forensics, dealing with your digital data, zeros and ones. Computer forensics, dealing with your computer data. Cyber forensics, the cyberspace. So one small portion of digital forensics or computer forensics is malware analysis, typically identifying viruses. So malware analysis is going to be like a subdivision, an integral part of any crime scene investigation. So is there any problem by using VPN and third-party apps? You can use VPN. It claims that it will make you secure. But if the government wants, the government will go to the VPN provider. They'll get the IP. From which IP, which account, which BSNL, which Airtel you logged in, they'll get the details. Fine. It's nothing like 100% anonymous. Fine. So then,
can Ubuntu be used for hacking?
Can Ubuntu be? Obviously, most of the hackers use the so-called Linux versions, Ubuntu, and there's one new Linux called Kali Linux, KALI. Kali Linux is specifically used for hacking. So best website to learn free cybersecurity. So my recommendation for this question is cybray.it. This is one of the websites. They have many courses and they have some free courses also for introduction to cybersecurity, introduction to forensics, introduction to ethical hacking. You can just go create an account in this website and you can take the courses. Video recordings will be available. This is one of the most common website which I know, the most common free website for learning or basic starting cybersecurity. Kickstarter to cybersecurity, cybray.it. I hope I'll copy that and put it in your. I'll just typing the answer for your question. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
What is the difference between cyber physical systems and cyber security?
Okay, cybersecurity generally, as I said, anywhere you have data, zeros and ones, cybersecurity is involved. Cyber physical system is somewhere, most of you might have heard of this IoT, Internet of Things, smart room, smart home, smart grid. Nowadays, you see like not in India, but in some other foreign countries, most of their grids, the power units are connected with smart grids. They don't want to go and take a manual reading. They'll get an SMS, they can just pay it online. So cyber physical system typically deals with some critical infrastructures. So one fine day you say like your computer laptop is not working, no problem. But you see a nuclear power plant which is available in Chennai, right? So in nuclear power plant, one fine day the temperature sensor is not working. So in nuclear power plant, one fine day maybe the monitoring mechanism is not working. So that comes under cyber physical system. Critical infrastructures, we call it as nuclear power plant, rocket propulsion system, right? Power grids, right? So all these things comes under cyber physical system, where we use technology, we use zeros and ones, digital data, everything. But if something is going wrong, if a hacking is done, it's not going to steal your data alone, it's going to risk your lives. Right? So that comes under cyber physical system. Well, as the name goes, physical systems. Your power grid is converted into digitized, right? So for example, your nuclear power plant, the whole automation is converted into digitized, right? So that's a subdivision, a domain in cybersecurity called a cyber physical system. Right? One example is your smart city. Or else, you can take like an example of your nuclear power plant, which is completely digitized. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions, queries from highlight? I'll also.
I think yes, Ashok, that's it. So
one question from the chat, which is here, like incognito mode is good or bad. So most of us used to do, right, private browsing. Using a private browser, visit a website, your father doesn't know, your mother doesn't know, no problem. Your Airtel knows, your BSNL knows. Obviously, if police people want, they also can get it. Private browsing means your browser, you visit abc.com, xyz.com. The website is not stored on your computer, but the website will be stored in Airtel. The website will be stored in BSNL. The logs can be got. Incognito private is not completely private. It's only a so-called private. Fine.
Okay. Thank you, Ashok. So,
Thank you.
so So I just wanted to tell them that, see, I understand that there was lots of takeaways from this. So it was like lots of information. So one thing which I wanted to, at least you people now might have understood that ATM cards, Wi-Fi enabled ATM cards, at least how to secure those cards. So how to keep it in your pocket, like how it has to be sealed and kept it. Correct? So there was another thing like how you, because see, once you get an awareness on cybersecurity, if at some point someone says, is this your password? So simple. If someone says you something like that, how will you feel? Once you are aware to the cybersecurity domain, once you are inside that domain, so how your password should be? Someone who sees your password, oh my God, see, correct? So I hope everyone will now look into that particular point also. Correct? So, and another thing was, I wanted to answer some questions specifically related to, there was one question which came multiple times asking for CSE and I think it was, just 1 minute, it was about CSE and EAC, right? Electronics and Computer Engineering. See, computer science, I hope you know how a computer science subject is. Like you will have specializations, data structures, programming, codings, everything related to computer science. Once it is electronics and communication or computer engineering, I think it is communication engineering, or okay, let's find. So whatever it is, computer engineering. So it will be a mix of both. You will study electronics things also in that, and little bit of coding also coming inside. So it will be little more towards the electronics part only, but computer science part will not be fully avoided. It is not like that. There will be data structures, you'll be studying it inside. So best thing for you to understand this, go to Amrita website. There you will find the curriculum part. You need not even check the syllabus, but you will find a curriculum which says what all subjects you will study in each semester. So that will give you an awareness of like whatever is your interest, is that particular interest covered in your 4 years or not? So that is one of the best way to understand whether your interest is like towards this particular stream or branch, whether it is CSE, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, whatever be it is. So this is one way of knowing it. Then another is like, see, if you see Amrita, you have CSE in cyber, like CSE with specialization in cybersecurity, CSE with specialization in artificial intelligence. Okay. So it doesn't mean that CSE is not fully like, it doesn't mean that you choose a cybersecurity domain and you need not learn anything from CSE. Like all the major subjects of CSE is still available. Because see, cybersecurity, you have seen like 4 and 6 or whatever crime investigation he has, Ashok has shown now. So what all different domains it is touching? See, it's a very big information, right? You have to learn lots if you want to master this. So it is not standing by itself. You should know artificial intelligence. You should know coding. You should be able to go into the lowest level of your operating system, in and out of your system. Your network, you should know, correct? How many of you, when you get a new mobile or a system, like go inside and see all the settings? How many of you do that? You learn everything about the system, like in and out, all the settings, and what is happening, or how you can make it more speed, how you can make it more fast, correct? So then I can say that, okay, there is a small spark of cybersecurity person inside you. So, okay, so this is one way of learning it, because cybersecurity, it never stands alone. You have to learn lots of things inside. You need analytical skills. That's very important. Maths. See, that is very important for cybersecurity, whether it is an encryption, decryption, or whatever you do, you should be able to do that. You should be able to understand that easily. So there is lots of maths involved. Same time, just go and see the curriculum part. You'll see lots of different subjects. How to, like you do a secure coding, 4 and 6, like you were saying, biometrics. See, lots of different variety of subjects you see. So it depends on what your interest is. Okay. And yeah, one more topic tomorrow. Like I said, tomorrow there is another very good, interesting like topic. See, I hope everyone plays games, right? I'm not asking you to raise your hands because I know that everyone will be playing. Correct? All are playing games. Yes, 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 right? I know. Because lockdown, right? Everyone will be playing. All your mobiles will have at least one game. Correct? So tomorrow's session is about gaming. Like how you know whether you are addicted to games or not? How many of you say that you are addicted to games? You can live without playing games for at least 1 month, 2 months. Okay, so let's see. Like tomorrow there is one section about games. After the session, I'll ask you again the same question. Okay, at that time you tell me whether you belong to the addicted category or not addicted category. Okay. Ma'am?
Yeah, ma'am. One thing I want to add, because there were many queries on dark web and hacking Instagram accounts, hacking Gmail. So maybe if you're going to take a bachelor's or master's course in cybersecurity, right? So as you can, someone was asking about the syllabus, you can see the courses. So if you study all these courses, you just master these papers, you get onto a job portal, apply for a cybersecurity analyst, cybercrime investigator, that is well and good. So whatever you talk about, you might have something on maybe how Instagram works, how dark web works, and all those sort of things. But that's not going to fetch you a job. It's going to be like fun and profit. You know something about dark web, search something in dark web. After 1 year, police people will come behind you searching that, hey, you searched it on dark web. You might have not searched it. Some of your friend might have just used your identity and searched. Obviously, it's going to be offensive. So dark web and these sort of searching online specifically for this hacking stuff and other things is typically riding without a helmet. I don't recommend. And again, it's not necessary. There are many opportunities. I find many of our students, those who work for companies, they are getting quite a good number of package, 7 lakh, 10 lakh, 15 lakh, good number of packages are available. Companies are interested in offering. And there are a quite good number of openings available for jobs. So obviously, as you said, out of interest, you can learn about dark web, you can learn about hacking, you can learn about privacy accounts. That is out of the box. Any of the course like ethical hacker course or penetration tester course, even we used to teach those courses. So as a part of our R&Ds, as you can see here, right? So we used to have these courses. So we used to teach certified ethical hacker, certified penetration tester. We used to teach on certified security analyst, certified crime scene investigator. All courses we have it additional to the curriculum courses. But these are all supplementary. But whatever you see in your curriculum, as you can see on the syllabus, because it's pretty lengthy, 4 years, 8 semesters. You're going to study all about computer fundamentals and then cybersecurity. Strong foundation with cybersecurity will fetch you a good job. Fine. Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you. Thank you all.